So you've decided on the look of your film, whatever visual inspiration you're taking, whatever kind of media you're using. Awesome, perfect. Now it's time to start collecting that. That might mean you need to animate, that might mean you need to go out and shoot a bunch of videos of lights or water or time lapses, whatever you decided on. Maybe you need to scan some photos, maybe you need to go download a bunch of videos. The collection process is a long one, and I always recommend getting more than you think you need, but the process can be made a lot easier with an outline, which looks a little something like this. This is an example of an outline. It does not have to be anything complicated. You got one column for the things you see and one column for everything you hear. And you'll line everything up like this. If your film's voiceover based, then that dialogue should go in here. Otherwise, think in terms of story arcs. If your film isn't narrative, just think in terms of themes. Maybe it's animated and you have a lot of stuff going on screen at once, or you're using overlays. Feel free to put a few columns for visuals. I mean, do whatever is going to work best for you. Once you've written your first draft, go ahead and look through it. Start highlighting things, draw arrows, see how images connect, see what motifs are appearing. Maybe you'll realize another visual symbol that you didn't even think you had. And all of a sudden you go, oh crap, that can be my opening shot, or that can be something that repeats over and over and over again. Once you've started to pick apart those patterns, rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. This is your paper edit. Spend as much time with it as you feel like you need. The more you really flesh things out here, the easier it's going to be in the editing room. I really recommend going down, looking through each of your visuals, and writing down next to it, this symbolizes this theme, this is what this image is saying. Context versus subtext. Look at that and you can say, all right, I have multiple images that are very different but have the same subtext. Do I need to unite those more? Can some of these just be cut out? If you decide that here, then when you go to collect and download your footage, you're doing less work. There's a very real chance that you might not be able to outline your film very well before you get your footage, or before you examine your footage. Human Remains by Jay Rosenblatt is a really good example of this. It is a very disturbing film about various dictators, including Hitler, including Mussolini. It takes quotes from their diaries, things that they've said, and puts that on top of archival footage for them.
I knew a lot of women, it's true, and a good many returned my affection. Henny, Maria.
With making a film like this, collecting all of the resources and outlining were something that kind of happened in tandem. And this is when labeling your files and keeping those labels consistent is very, very important. Especially if you're outlining and writing things down, you want to be able to reference those file names with the actual files on your computer. Seems super simple, but it's easy to forget, and if you do, it can make the editing process later a nightmare. I also recommend, like I mentioned, copyright in the last video, considering that again as you're collecting footage. Make sure to use the full name of whatever file you have, as well as the creator, director, username, wherever you got it. Something that's easy for you to reference later. If you need to, compile a Word doc with links to where you got everything, so in case you ever need to, you can go back and check on your rights for the footage. Now I know I talk a lot about writing in this section. We haven't gotten to any editing, just downloading so far, and I haven't said a thing about how to shoot. And that's because that's not what this is about. And at the end of the day, filmmaking is storytelling, and storytelling involves writing. Personally, I love the tactile process of putting something down in a journal, and it's something I really recommend. You can rip it up, you can highlight it, you can add sticky notes, you can put it up on your wall. I've done that before, it's really helpful. Now, of course, whatever works best for you, works best for you. If you hate writing, you don't have to do it. I've done mind maps, I've done journals, I've done lists, I've done doodles, I've done a combination of all of these things for various projects. You can use Microsoft Word or apps. You could just record your voice talking about this. Sometimes just talking out your ideas is the best way to work through them. The goal really at the end of the day is to just not touch your editing software until you're ready. Software like this, I'm using Adobe Premiere and I love Premiere, is in its very nature constricting. It has a very specific set of tools, a very specific way for laying things out, and even though we've achieved, thank God, non-linear editing, it bogs you down. It gets you stuck in the technicalities. I couldn't tell you how many times I'm in the middle of putting my string out together and I start color correcting stuff. Then I have to stop myself. I'm like, why am I color correcting? This is like the last step. I need to be worried about story and pace and rhythm, and I just want to zoom right past it and get into the details of making everything perfect before I even have a story put together. So, with that tangent done, when you're outlining, take your time. Just be creative. Let yourself come up with really stupid ideas. let the story arc move in 1,000 different directions, create one act and then destroy it in the next draft. The messier things get now, one, the easier the process is going to be when you're editing, and two, the more likely it is you're going to find something really interesting that you wouldn't have otherwise. With that said, I can almost guarantee you the actual editing section of this is going to be the shortest, but we have one more part to get to. Thank you for watching. If you have any ideas, especially if you have any references to good inspirational content, videos, any really creative stuff to watch, please comment down below, because I'm always looking for more inspiration, more ideas. And I will see you in part 3.